I'm Kevin O'Hara for Alcohol Mastery. This is Stop Drinking Alcohol 72. It's early in the morning here, so the sun is just about coming up behind me, so the light's not great at the moment, but I think it should get a bit better. It's a lovely morning though. It's very warm. It's about 35 degrees. Ooh. First off, I just want to thank everyone who's bought the ebook. I'm just a bit overwhelmed with the response. It's just brilliant. It's on Amazon as well. It's on the website, and it's already got its first customer review. 5 stars, yay! So I'm really stoked about that. The next week or two, I think I'm going to try and get it out for next week. Is the audio book, so I'll keep an eye out for that. Now, one of the questions I want to read out, I got on the thing. There's a bit of a. Got my pad with me. From the website this week was, can I drink alcohol-free beer? I'm not sure if oh no, sorry, hold on. Yeah, the question was, can I drink alcohol-free beer? And the guy said, well, he wasn't sure whether or not I answered the question right, or a yes or no. So he said, I'm a new alcoholic, just found all your YouTube videos by accident. But I really enjoy many of the topics and the sheer number of them. They're definitely helping me. Anyways, I agree with the barman joke when he says, what's the point? But what are you doing going up to the bar in the first place? I find drinking non-alcoholic beer really helps me with the urges I get, because it doesn't really taste that great, so it's kind of a reminder how awful beer tastes. And usually 0.05% beer will take away the urge, so I presume 0.5% beer will take away the urge completely. It might not be for everyone, but it definitely helps me remember the taste of beer when all my mind is saying need that alcohol. Kevin, my point is that you should have elaborated on the pros and cons a bit more. It seems like you ended it saying no. Thanks for all the videos. I've signed up and hope the subscribe button works. Yeah, I've changed that because he was pushing it, and I think there was no real acknowledgement whether or not the button was being pushed or not. So if anyone doesn't know the story about the barman, I was talking about this before in a video I did on alcohol-free beer, and it was basically it was on the first time I quit drinking, and I was off it for 10 months, and I went to Greece with Esther and Sean, and we went to it was a wedding. It was a really good friend's wedding, and Esther was one of the maids of honor, and we were out on our own one night. We went into this particular bar, and I asked for, I've been drinking Diet Cokes, and I wanted the taste of a beer, like the guy says, so I asked him for an alcohol-free beer, and he said to me, what's that? And I said, it's a beer with no alcohol. And he looked at me like I was stupid and said, what's the point in that? But in the comment you also say, well, why was I in a bar? It was because we were in Greece. There was a wedding party of nearly 40 people, or 30 or 40, I can't remember. It's a long time ago now. And everyone else was going into the bar, so I thought I had no choice. But I love going into bars anyway. I mean, I go into bars now. I always go in with a purpose. I don't go in just to sit there watching other people drink. I do go in to watch matches. I sometimes eat in bars because sometimes bar food is cool. It's really nice. In a lot of cases, a lot of bars are having to move away from just alcohol selling and get into other things. When I first moved to Ireland, when I first moved back to Ireland in 1992, I think it was, 1993, we moved to a small little place in the west of Ireland called Carrigaholt. It's in County Clare, and I'm not sure what the population of the town must have been, maybe couple of hundred, 300 maybe, and there were 6 pubs. And you know, the outlying district, I mean, there's obviously farm, it's big farming country, and there's going to be farms spread out all over the place. So, but I wouldn't think that there would be any more than a couple of thousand people. And there was only one pub really where you could get good grub. The other 2 pubs were served as shops, so there was a little corner shop inside the pub. I remember the first time we walked into one of the bars down there, and we were strangers, and it's the first time ever in my life that I've walked into an almost completely full bar, and everything and everyone has shut up. Everything's gone quiet. It was the freakiest moment of my life, I think, and it only happened for, you know, it lasted for maybe a couple of seconds. But it felt like it lasted a lot longer, you know, if you know what I mean. So, really, what I'm trying to say is, if you find that alcohol-free beer is helping you, then go for it, you know. I tried a shandy a few weeks ago, and shandy is sort of with beer mixed with lemonade, and it was alcohol-free beer mixed with lemonade, and I took a couple of sips out of it, and I just found the whole thing distasteful. It just reminded me of something that I didn't want to go back to again, you know. I didn't want to be reminded of the taste, because the taste reminded me of getting drunk, and reminded me of that whole sad lifestyle that I was living back then, and I just didn't want to be reminded of that. You know, sometimes I get reminded of it with a smell. And it's not a pleasant thing when I think about it like that. And that's something that I have to deal with. I know it's not anything catastrophic in my life. It's just a stupid thought. And you know, I will, you know, I do deal with it. So there's no hassle with it. It's just, yeah. It probably happens mostly when you know, like I'm not feeling in the best of form, you know, and you know, Esther will pass me with a glass of wine, or she'll put a glass of wine down on the little table next to me. You know, when we're sitting down, we've got a little table in between the 2 chairs, and she'll put a glass of wine, and I just get a whiff of it. And if I'm not feeling in best form, I'll sort of, you know, sometimes it can just bring back this, you know, not a habit memory, but just like, yeah, sort of a memory of somewhere I don't want to be anymore. So distasteful, I find it. One of the reasons I never drank alcohol-free beer in the beginning, this time, was because I didn't want that taste. I always thought that the taste of the beer would just keep on reminding me of drinking, and I wanted to get away from that. So there's plenty of other drinks out there. I mean, for me, it was, you know, Diet Coke or orange juice, or you know, that kind of thing. So I didn't really drink alcohol-free beer because of that. You know, I always thought that my brain, my mind was expecting one thing after the other. So once I got the taste of the alcohol, or the hops, or the malt, or whatever it was, once I got that taste, my brain was automatically expecting the buzz, you know, whatever feeling. It was expecting one to follow the other, and I didn't think my mind could divorce itself from those 2 things. I didn't think it could separate that taste from the expectation of a buzz. And if your mind is always expecting the buzz, then it's going to be disappointing. A friend of mine over here is trying to stop smoking, and I know how really hard that is. I mean, I hated every moment of me trying to stop smoking. It was, and he tries everything. Every time he stops, he goes, it's not cold turkey. I think he tried that at the beginning. He goes to cigarette patches, you know, the nicotine patches, not cigarette patches, he'll go for the little plastic. I've seen him smoking that with the little plastic sort of sucky thing that you put the capsule inside. And I think the last attempt that he did it with these electronic cigarettes, where there's you get the feeling of actually pulling on the cigarette, and there's fake smoke or something. I don't know what the ins and outs of it, but he just looked completely sad, you know, like, and you could see it. And he said, all I want is a cigarette. And I was saying to him, do you not think that it's that it's just, you know, you're kidding your mind, that you're keeping yourself hooked into the nicotine, and you know, your mind is not getting away from the cigarettes, when all you want to do really is smoke a cigarette. You're getting the nicotine buzz, but everything else is left out. You know, the whole, what we would consider the pleasure part of the smoking, the drawing and the feeling of the hot smoke, and you know, there's a certain resistance when you're pulling on a cigarette and you have to draw the smoke through the filter, and you know, there's a whole package of things there that are missing when you only take the nicotine, and you're getting the nicotine buzz, but people don't smoke for that. And really, he knew what I was talking about, but he said that he couldn't quit smoking on his own, you know, that he just couldn't do it, you know. And there was no way I could try and convince him. I mean, I've had this conversation with him that, you know, there is no such thing as can't do anything, that you know, you just have to have the willpower and stick through it. But it is very difficult to tell that, you know, to say that. You know, I've gone through that. I've done the whole thing. I've stopped smoking, I've stopped drinking, and it just makes me sound like a fucking smart arse when I say, well, you know, you can do this, you know, I've done it and stuff, you know. So, you know, there has to be, like drinking, there has to be a big reason to stop. But anyway, I'm getting off topic here. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone to drink alcohol-free beer. It's a complete personal choice. I wouldn't do it if I had to do the whole thing again. I still wouldn't do it. I just think that, you know, it's I wanted to distance myself from any type of connection with alcohol, either with the taste, with the paraphernalia, with everything. I just thought it was so dangerous to me to have that kind of stuff around me in the beginning. You know, I couldn't give a shit now, you know, whether there's a corkscrew around or whether there's a bottle of wine. There could be, I could live in a winery and it wouldn't make any difference to me. But I think, you know, my big problem with it would be after maybe a couple of months, and I'm starting to feel the effects of, you know, the benefits of not drinking. I'm starting to feel my body how it should feel without the alcohol. I'm starting to feel healthy and got more money in my pocket. Just things are looking better, and I feel stronger. And because I feel a little bit stronger, a lot stronger, my mind starts to go, well, sure, you know, this alcohol-free beer is not really giving me that buzz, you know, and I still want that buzz. I still want, you know, I'm missing that extra bit of edge. And, you know, so one won't do me any harm. You know, if I drink one, and I know, you know, I've been off it now for two months, and I know I feel loads better, and my brain is sort of getting around it now, so yeah, really, yeah, I could control it. Yeah, I could control it. You know, I think I could. You know, if I just drank, you know, I'll have one beer, and that's not going to harm. You know, it can't harm me, one beer. You know, and that's the way my mind always worked whenever I tried to do something. It was the way my mind worked when I stopped smoking. It was, you know, I'd be off the cigarettes for a month or 2 months or 3 months, and I'd be out drinking, and I'd feel that urge and that craving, and it wouldn't matter what I had with me. If I had a cigarette patch or anything, it wasn't nicotine I was craving for. It was stood there at the bar or outside in the smoking room in the later years with my mates who were all smoking, and I wanted to feel that hot smoke coming down my, going down my throat. And it would always be, sure, I'll just have the one. And then it'd end up I'd buy a packet, or I'd start smoking cigars, and convince myself that I wasn't really smoking, or buy a packet and only smoke when I was drinking, and convince myself that I wasn't a smoker. And it wasn't long before I went back, and that was the fear that I always had with alcohol-free beers, was that it would just keep my tastes open enough, just enough, my cravings, and so that when I did feel that strength coming back to me, and I did feel strong, a couple of months down the line, and I knew that I could stop, then it would be very easy to sort of go, well, yeah, sure, all I'm going to do now is I'll just have the 1 pint, I'll have the one drink, or I'll have the 1/2, and then one will lead into 2, and then it'd be maybe just smoking or drinking at the weekends, and before I knew it, I'd be straight back onto it again. It wouldn't take long. So that's just the way my mind works, and I think that's the same for a lot of people. So I just wouldn't, I wouldn't recommend it for a lot of people. So yes, I know it would be a definite no for me. I think to successfully control drinking, you've got to be able to be in the state of mind where you can drink 1 pint and that's it. You're not, you don't want any more. You can drink 1 glass of wine and you can sip at it and you don't want any more, that's it. But I could never do that. That was just not something that I could do. So, and it's not something that I could ever learn to do, because I'm a drinker. I was raised up as a proper drinker, going out into pubs and getting pissed, or whenever I had drink, the aim was to get pissed, and I don't think I could learn how not to do that. I think I could control drinking to a certain extent for a certain length of time, but then I'd go back to my old ways. And even if I could, what a nightmare. Just, forever doing something that you always want to go that one step further, For me, it'd be like going in and having a perpetual lap dance, It's like, what's the point? I just, So yeah, for me, it's just distancing myself forever from alcohol and just never going back. I feel my life is so much better now. And I'll keep saying this, but there's no way. I'm afraid. I would be afraid to drink now, I would be afraid to touch anything, not because of the damage it would do, but because of the damage it would do to my life. It's my life is getting to a place now where I'm starting to really love what I'm doing. I'm starting to love my life again, after a long time of being under the yoke of alcohol, and I'm not going to risk that again. So today I wanted to talk about self-perception, about perceptions that you have about yourself and about perceptions of the world. So everything that we see around us, our realities, are perceived through our senses. Through your sight, your hearing, your nose, your touch, that kind of thing. And all of those things start out as electrical impulses, and your brain interprets those electrical impulses, and it forms, your version of reality. And your version of reality is, to all intents and purposes, fairly unique. There's a lot of different things that shape our realities. You've got the environment outside, so everything that's going on outside, people around you. Then you've got your internal thoughts, your memories, both your distant memories and your memories of you know, just moments ago. I'm reading a great book at the moment called, I think it's The Self-Delusion or The Self-Illusion. I'm reading it on the Kindle, so you know, when you open up the Kindle, you don't really see the title, the cover page. So I'll put the link down below, the name and the author. But this guy's talking about memory as being like a compost heap, and it's just there's all these cobwebs in the trees, and of course they get stuck to my bald head. Anyway, he's talking about your memory like it's a compost heap, so that everything gets thrown in there, and some of the stuff breaks down really quickly, and other parts of it just take a much longer time to break down. So, you know, these are strong memories that last a bit longer. But eventually, most things break down into one big mess, and it's very, you know, he's talking about the memory as like it's sort of that our memory lies to us, that we think that we remember something, and in reality, it's not really as crystal clear as what we remember it. That is, you know, a lot of people think that our memories are like movies, that we take in a movie and we store it away, or like a database where we can store our memories and we've got instant access, and it's not really about that. But even, you know, our memories of a few hours ago can be very deceptive and can lie to us. You know, a lot of our perceptions are dependent on our attention, where we're putting our attention, where we're putting our focus. You know, you can really only focus on one thing at a time. It also has a lot to do with expectations, you know, what you expect out of life. It's also got a lot to do with what you think other people are thinking about you, how you expect other people to think about you, that kind of thing. You know, in terms of quitting drinking, you have to change your perceptions about yourself when you quit. You know, it's essential. It's essential that you go from thinking about yourself as a drinker, taking away all the negativity. You know, like I was thinking some terrible stuff about myself. You know, that I was a loser, that I was a bad father, that I was a drunk. I was an Irish drunk, and that to be Irish was to be a drinker. All those, you know, stupid thoughts and self-perceptions that weren't really true, you know, that were locking myself into, and kept me drinking for a long time. You know, they locked me into this label, and you start, you know, once you start calling yourself a certain thing, then you start becoming it. But life changes, any changes in life, these self-perceptions are very dynamic. You know, it's a dynamic process. You know, your expectations and your how you see yourself are not going to be the same thing an hour from now. Even an hour, you're going to change it. It might be ever so slightly, but it still happens. It's still a change that happens. You know, all your self-perceptions about yourself as a drinker, for instance, are brought about by your culture, for one thing. You know, and I say it's not an excuse to carry on drinking by using your culture and saying, well, it is part of my culture, so that's why I do drink. But it, you know, like in essential, if there wasn't drinking in your culture, you wouldn't drink. So it is a fact that we drink because of the culture that's around us. We drink because of the people that are around us, because of our education, because of, you know, there's so many different factors in life that you know, lead us into drinking in the first place. By the time we get to 18 years of age, we are essentially can't wait to get into the pub. That is just, it's a natural progression to go into the pub and buy a drink and get drunk. And that's a perception, it's a self-perception that we really have to sort of work on and get rid of. And it is one of the hardest, it's one of the hardest things to get rid of, unfortunately. But, you know, the more work you do, the more time you put between yourself and drinking, the the easier it gets. And you know, most of this kind of stuff works underneath the surface, so you don't even notice it's happening. It's only every so often that it pops up and you have to think, Jesus, I've never thought like that in a long while, you know. The habit memory sort of thought. You know, Virginia Satir said that you can't allow other people's perceptions of us to define us. She was a family therapist from the middle of the 20th century. And you know, it's true, you have to sort of think, well, you know, like, am I being forced into drinking by what I think other people are thinking about me? You know, is it, do I drink because, am I carrying on drinking because, you know, I don't want to be sort of an outcast within the group that I'm in? You know, it's not a good way to think. You know, if you base your life around thinking about what other people think about you, then you know, you're all the time going to be changing, because other people's opinions of you are going to be changing. You know, and for a start, you know, you're not a psychic. You know, you can't really get into another person's mind and say, yeah, well, that's definitely what they're thinking, you know. And secondly, it's like, even if you knew what they were thinking, people are just as skittish with their opinions as the rest of us. So, you know, their opinions are going to change over time. So what's the point? You know, one of the ways that you should think about your own self-perception is like it's a sort of a superpower, you know, that it is the thing that you can control. That, you know, you can, either way, you know, good or bad perceptions, you can drive your own self-perception down whichever path you want it to take, or not want it to take. You know, if you're driving your self-perception down this path that you're a drinker and you're an alcoholic and you're always going to be an alcoholic, and you know, that's going to happen. What you ask for, what you think is what you really are, but you can change that around and, you know, make it into something else. I'm rambling a little bit on this one. The battery light is flickering on the screen, telling me that the battery's gone down to 10%. So I'm going to talk a lot more about this in this week's podcast, which I think should be out on Friday this week. I'm going to try and get it either to a Fridays or a Mondays. I'm not sure which one is more convenient. You know, it's just to have a couple of days a week where sort of there's things going on around the house and I can't concentrate on writing. So I really want to start writing 3-4 days a week. I mean, I've gone full time at this now for the last month, which is one of the reasons why I was so nervous about putting the book out and whether it'd sell anything. And, you know, I'm never going to be rich on a book. I don't want to be rich, you know. I want to make a living. I want to do what I was doing before, make the same amount of money as I was making before, but just concentrate on doing this, which I really love doing now, and just helping people, helping as many people as I can. So thanks again for all your kind support. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, then, you know, it's the same thing. Go to the website and leave a comment there, or I prefer that if you went to the website, I mean, but, you know, if not, I come to YouTube at least twice a week, so leave a comment here as well. If you haven't signed up for the newsletter yet, then, you know, get into that. So until next time, I'm Kevin O'Hara for Alcohol Mastery. Onwards and upwards.